Welcome, Pathfinders, to the After Party, Episode 6, or Episode 6 of the After Party, covering Episodes 16, 17, and 18 of the Find the Path podcast, actual play of the Mummy's Mask Adventure Path. I am your host and Gamemaster, Rick Sandidge. I'm joined by my players, Jessica Peters, Jordan Jenkins, Rachel Sandidge, and Heather Allen.
Ooh, he's introducing us this time, guys.
I think you made that same joke when I introduced you the last time.
Well, you usually don't introduce us, because we're not important, apparently. We're just his little pawns.
It's not that you're not important, you're just not as important as I am.
I'll remember that.
I mean, you could just play by yourself.
So yes, this is the After Party where we go over the most recent 3 episodes and discuss our thoughts on things and all the rest of that stuff. Got some Sirenscape going in the background here.
With some weird, creepy
one.
happening.
We're listening to the Witchwood on Sirenscape. We're accompanied by a nice dark elf harpist.
I like this. That doesn't sound like harp, but I like this music.
Episode 16 is the cat swarm.
Ah, yes.
Episode 17 is where we had our encounter with the Scorched Hand and then sold all of our stuff. And episode 18 was my and Sudi's
Intrepid
Adventures.
Yeah.
Which you guys haven't heard yet, so I don't think we can talk about that.
We'll talk a little bit about it, but so we have been continuing. You guys are actually, in these last 3 episodes, you guys have found out where your final site out of the 3 sites that you were assigned way back in episode 1.
We're keeping that under wraps.
Yep. I know, though.
Yes.
And so
I told everybody in a secretive way.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you're pretty much moving into the final chapter of the first book, The Half-Dead City. Into the final countdown.
Yeah.
Which I imagine this place is going to be fairly large, like the largest spot we've done, because it's a, library?
Actually,
Academy? Something?
it's a single room.
It's going to be a source
One
of drama is what it's going to be. Because
definitely
once
be a source of drama.
Once Hat Lady finds out...
I really don't like Hat Lady.
Hat Lady has a name.
I think Hat Lady is just misunderstood.
Hypaxis.
I don't know, I kind of like the cleric.
He's
Killer.
fun. He's nice.
But his boyfriend needs to take him down.
His boyfriend's just trying to prove himself,
Yeah, that's why I called him his pet.
but he needs to check himself before he wrecks himself.
Tell your pet to stand down.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So in episode 16,
Kitty
you guys actually started with a fight against an Uboski
That should be
swarm.
called the one where Sagira hugs everything.
No, it was the one with, I think it was called the one with the Ubashki Swarm.
Yeah, the one with the
Yeah.
Uboski
Well, of course,
swarm.
that's what it's actually called. But
You
Sagira
didn't think you
doesn't
grappled much in that particular episode.
But I
'cause
feel
that
like I
was-
grapple a lot, and I might need to take improved grapple.
No, so we fought the creepy cat swarm, and then
You did.
Citra got freaked out and ran away.
Oh, yeah.
She had a
Chased her
good
down.
reason. She had a good reason.
But yes, you did manage to defeat the Uboski swarm, which again was just kind of a selling point when I first read this adventure path. For that is a very Egyptian feeling specific. It's an encounter that would not have made sense in any other setting.
That's definitely true.
So it really kind of sank home for me.
I do like the kitties.
But yes, you then triggered a mummified guardian inside of the crypt who scared 3/4 of the party, but only one of them to running away for their lives.
And
We just
Sudi
It brought
stayed
back
away.
and we just
some horrible memories.
They brought
barely
back some.
caught her before she would have gone running headfirst
into the centipede that we still haven't dealt with.
Nah.
We're not gonna.
It was also a weird little cat friend that sat on the corpse. That was cool.
I kind of want one of those.
Yeah, when I die, bury me with
yeah.
one of those.
I got a little picture of him. Don't read any
Is
of
he
the other
adorable?
Oh, he's
stuff,
so cute.
He's adorable.
Yeah, he's a little like mummy wrapped and everything else.
So
He's got.
it's
that
a little
shield is cool,
like,
too.
It looks like a little black cat head.
Yeah.
And then
So
like
it's-
it's got like
so it's
little,
Sudi?
Don't
like-
skip me.
the
You
little
both could see it.
mummified, like bits and like the little mummy wrapped like kind of linen
He's
on the
cool.
bottom. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, they got the scarab shield on there.
It's
too.
not
That shield looks
terrifying at
pretty
all.
cool, the one that I'm running around with.
Well, it was a magical effect.
Gave a little bit of a scare to Sitra. Brought back some bad, not quite repressed memories so much as just stuff she doesn't like
Gave
to.
you a big spook.
She has her reasons for being a little paranoid down here in these tombs.
And we finished fixing the gate, and then, next episode we found out Vision Guy is going to go take care of it. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah, weird guy. We also had the weirdest
Menatep
buddy cop moment where we were
Tetmanib.
just like,
Tetmanib.
hey, other group, let's kill each other? No, we're cool? Okay.
Yeah, we ran into them on the way back.
You ran into the Scorched Hand, the followers of
Nethys.
Nethys, god of magic and pretty much just magic.
I can't decide if I like Nethys or not. Sometimes
I
I'm like,
love
he's
Nethys.
cool, and then sometimes I'm like,
I feel like that's appropriate. I like Nethys. I play a War Priest of Nethys in a different game. Nethys is cool.
The thing I like about Nethys has a complex history that they never answer the questions to, which I appreciate. Because even outside of Endgame, when you're just reading through the books, Nethys has been portrayed as both Asgrahad I, who was the first pharaoh of the Ansirian Empire.
God of werewolves.
God of werewolves.
Werewolf. Sorry.
Is that from 13th Warrior?
No, that's from Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, I was like, that's Frankenstein.
You remember when Antonio Banderas with werewolf?
Well, they made fun of him a lot. I'm just saying. They made funny jokes.
Anyway, no, Asgahad I, who was the first pharaoh of Osirian, who was responsible for defeating Olnanot the Festering, who was the first spawn of Rovagog.
Oh, yeah.
And he beat him in single combat. Part of his story was he wandered around in the desert, and then in the desert he met a man named Nethys. And this man basically granted him this huge amount of power. And then he went back and then united everyone and said, hey guys, we should fight against this thing. And everyone's like, we're not going to unite underneath you. And then he went, aha, and defeated Spawn of Rovagug in single combat.
Wow.
With crazy magic.
Pause for a second. He beat a Spawn of Rovagug in single combat?
In single
Nethys.
combat.
Neck's got nothing on this guy. Good lord.
So there's a lot of back and forth where they're just like, he was a cleric of Nethys, or Nethys granted him the power and everything else.
He multi-classed with Cavalier and he challenged the baby Rovagug.
And so the thing I like about Nethys is that they never really answer that. It's the idea that Nethys' power is so infinite that he basically was a wizard who just became so powerful that he just spontaneously became a god. Or they claim that he's the first pharaoh, but technically there was another pharaoh because he kind of helped the first person become a pharaoh. Anyway, I've always found Nethys to be interesting. So yes, you did meet up with the Scorched Hand, which you got to meet. I believe his name is Azaz.
hat lady.
Azaz, who is the young
kept
wizard.
mistaking for Aziz. Aziz, light.
It's AZ. So
yeah, and Azaz is the
Azaz.
punky one.
And Nori!
yes, you met Azaz. Kelru, who is their priest of Nethys.
He was friendly.
Who seem to be generally, yes, peace, friends, peace. You also had already met with Valeriana Hypaxis in passing
Cat
at the
lady.
tavern, and also in episode 1.
Yeah, we
Or
know.
at the very least, she was
We
mentioned
saw
in
her.
episode 1.
Every time I hear her last name, I want to say Hypoxis. And that's not right.
Onuris had a stern talking to her. I remember because I went with him.
You guys had a little banter back and forth way back then. You had a little banter back and forth now. And at the end of that episode, you met Adori,
I
who...
think Jess said Onuris was being sassy in that.
He was so
conversation.
sassy.
So sassy. But yeah, and at the end of that episode, you met Dory, who is the only non-spellcaster in that party, who kind of dropped down and said, hey guys, skeletons.
We fought some skeletons.
Yeah, in the
She
next
seemed
episode,
cool.
episode 17, you guys had the knockdown, drag-out fight against a whole bunch of
But
skeletons.
the important thing is we killed more skeletons than they did, and that's all that matters.
It's true.
And then
Well, to
the
be fair, one of them
economy-
channeled to heal everyone instead of channeling to injure undead, so...
The economy in
take
town's
that.
going to crap, so there's a bunch of tension with all of that shit.
We spent like hours selling gear or selling
Yeah,
stuff.
because basically the market's been flooded.
And the
with
Abadarans were
stuff.
like, not our problem.
Yeah, so following
I
that,
hate
you guys
them.
did backtrack back to the City of the Living. You had a chance to sell off Sudi and Sitra, or Sudi and Sagira sold off a whole bunch of the
I
gear.
thought you didn't
Yeah,
sell
the
us.
separate itself.
They sold
We're
Sudi.
worth way more than that.
Still Sudi. Sudi's so
Hey.
useful.
Kitty.
And then Sitra got to draw the Sanctum of the Erudite Eye for our
Yes.
last sight.
Now, I'm not going to do a literal show of hands. Again, this is a podcast, but I'm going to assume no one was surprised
No,
by that.
I mean,
No,
that's one of those
not
things that
particularly.
they've been setting that up for
Yeah.
a while. Of course, that was going to be one of our sites.
Especially when it's like, you see all these people and they're just kind of like, random adventurers, and then this very distinctive looking hat lady. Like, we immediately picked up, we're like, that person's important.
Who's looking for this very specific site?
Yeah.
And if she'd been nicer to us instead of a total you-know-what, we might be willing to help her, but she's that ship has sailed.
See, my problem is in my head, she is the Witch of the Waste.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes!
So-
That's exactly who she is.
And I think we've already made that,
We've made that comparison before. Yeah.
But seriously, every time I see it. And then she's voiced by the epic Lauren Bacall, so that's...
Yes.
There you go.
And then Faldo invited us to the party.
Yeah,
Falto.
Like Balto.
Falto.
Like the
It's
dog.
not Frodo. It's
Balto.
I know it's
Frodo
Balto, but I
Baggins
think
invited you to a
Falto
party.
because I think
Balto.
Balto.
Falto.
But
F-A-L-T.
he invited
We call
them
him
to the
Falto.
party.
Balto because of Balto.
Yes.
Because I think Balto, the dog, the half dog,
It's a
half
dog.
wolf Disney movie,
There's also
where
a
he
statue
was
of him in
like
Central Park.
exiled from like the. Oh, it's such a cute
It's-
movie.
It's a good movie. I
It's
know this
another
movie.
callback because we referenced this the first time he
Yes,
showed up as
yes,
well.
we did. We did.
We just think
I
of
don't
things,
remember
okay? We're not very creative.
I'm very
Also, it's been
referencing
months,
random-
guys. Like, to you, it's like, oh, they mentioned this like 2 weeks. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Like,
I
in
mean, if you're
real
binge
world.
listening, we mentioned it just the other day. But if you've been following as we've been releasing them, then yeah, it's been months for you too.
But Onuris was real sick, so he was like, I'm not going to that party.
Yep.
Onuris found
Oh,
out that the
sport.
temple,
Took him back to Bastet's temple.
Yeah.
yeah, the temple of Pharasma is basically taxed, considering all of the issues that the sound is going through. So you basically taken Onuris back to the temple. The ladies had decided that, hey, we're going to go
To a party.
to a party and everything. Sudi met up with his girl back at the temple. They had a chance to talk, and she was more than willing to forgive Sudi for just being a
Mainly because he went and risked his life, and everybody knows risking your life. Great way to
Equals
get the girl to
beauty.
forgive you.
I don't know if that.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
Exactly true. That's
That's
not
what
true at
all action
Please don't
movies
go
have
do
ever
something
taught me. You
stupid
can be a
with
horrible
listeners.
husband and father, but if you
Yep.
Hey,
if you nearly die, that's what True Lies
John
taught me.
McClane.
I love
yeah,
that movie.
but in the third one, he's still divorced. And
Because
then
his
he's-
wife was smart.
Yeah.
True Lies is such a good movie. I might go
True
watch
Lies is
that.
amazing.
I might go watch that this afternoon.
Oh, man.
True Lies.
Or-
Jamie
or-
Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
Taken, for that matter. I have nothing but mad respect for Liam Neeson.
I've never.
He was a
actually
great father-in-law, actually,
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
he was.
Mhm.
That was
Okay.
fantastic.
with the kid.
Yeah, but you'd returned back to the Temple of Bast. Sudi had made up with his girlfriend. We had stopped there.
And then we split the party.
And then they broke the cardinal rule.
Hey, nobody
And
died,
nothing
I don't
bad
think.
would ever happen.
Now,
when
actually,
do
you
that.
guys split the party pretty regularly when it's not,
When
you
it's
know,
not
in
combat,
a dungeon
yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like
in the
that.
city and stuff, we do it regularly.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as a game master, you have to kind of consider that, because if you have the party routinely, say, attacked in their in-room, the players are going to adjust to it. Everyone's going to stay in the rooms together, and then you're going to lose that. It's kind of the same as if every person that ever helps the party inevitably betrays the party, they will never trust anyone again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sure, maybe Sagira is a little bit offset because, oh, this sand person seemed really nice. Oh, wait, no, she betrayed us. It doesn't necessarily mean that Jessica is not going to trust if she runs into something else. And it's like, well, this thing seems to be really nice. This Sphinx seems really nice. Maybe I can trust this Sphinx.
I'm never trusting any more sand people, though.
Yeah, never trust any more sand people.
That's-
If you've
that's-
learned nothing from A New Hope, don't trust sand people.
We typically try to talk our way out of things, and that has actually worked a surprising number of times, like way more than sometimes I think it should. That we get away with talking our way out of something.
That's
so
why I
like
made a deal
we
with the
we
dragon.
try that. Like we
Yeah.
when the person wants to like talk instead of fighting us, generally are like, yeah, let's listen to you. Let's try to talk about it.
Sometimes we're disappointed when we can't talk
You
to
won't
him.
talk to us.
Yeah.
As a game master, I really appreciate that too, because I've had players in the past, in both games that I've run and games that I've played in, where the villain will start their monologue and they'll just go, screw it, I don't want to hear it, and I attack.
And then
I'm
you
just like, would you please let the villain monologue
There's
so
a
that
lot
we get
happening
plot
right
stuff?
now.
Have you never seen a James Bond film?
Like sometimes,
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
like sometimes it's right for the moment. Like they've been going on, and you're just like screw it, and you do it. But it has to be the right moment. If you just do it every single time a villain comes up, then you lose a lot of the like whether or not it's a tragic villain. Like, can you actually understand where this person is coming
And
from?
not everyone keeps a handy dandy journal that tells you where your next plot point is.
Right?
Yeah.
They're too busy
Yeah.
being evil.
Yeah.
What about the chaotic evil villains? You think they meticulously journal things? No, they're
not.
chaotic.
They're just ramblings, just nothing but
I've
like
never heard
words.
of a demon writing a journal. So,
Yes,
okay.
but we split the party.
You split the party, which brought us into episode 18. We decided to try something a little different. We decided since we were splitting the party, we're actually going to split the group as well. In episode 18, you guys heard from Jordan and Heather,
Yep.
who were one half of the party. And in episode 19, you will hear from Jessica and Rachel and their misadventures on the other side. I like having an opportunity to try some new kind of fun things with the channel and vary things up for you guys. Sometimes it's interesting to approach it from a different angle because we're doing the recording. And since we're doing this recording, it's kind of, okay, well, these other two people aren't here. So you wouldn't actually have, let me rephrase that. I'm sure that Rachel and Jessica would both have words for Jordan and what he should have been doing in episode 18, which we'll get into here in a minute. But they weren't here, nor did he have the voice of wisdom, despite the fact that he has the highest wisdom in the party. Second highest, probably.
I was about to say, excuse me.
Probably the second highest wisdom in the party. He doesn't have their voice of experience in his ear. He doesn't, like, he knows Sagira well enough to probably know what Sagira would say in that situation, but he doesn't know Sitra well enough for that. So anyway, let's get into to a little bit of episode 18. We're not going to delve into a great deal of detail, just because we're going to kind of, episode 18 and 19 are kind of like an A-side, B-side. Mm-hmm. So we'll cover a little bit more of episode 18 when we do our coverage of episode 19 as well. But Onuris, basically summing it up, Onuris had a little bit of a crazy trip from his fever hallucinations.
So Karen.
So I don't know if Heather, if you enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I got to work in a lot of
backstory stuff.
A lot of backstory stuff, a lot of Egyptian imagery and Egyptian lore, and of course there's I think it would be safe to say that in our world, there is no society more obsessed with death than the Egyptians were.
Probably not. I mean...
or the concept of the afterlife. Yeah. I mean, really to the point where your life is just prep for the afterlife.
Yeah, pretty much.
Death is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so, I got to touch a little bit on that and also work in a couple fun angles and everything from the Planes of Power stuff and working a little bit with the grave or the boneyard and his own visions and everything there. I think despite the fact that that episode dealt a lot with Onuris' backstory.
Yep.
Sudi had a lot of focus in that one and his own perspective on it. So, Sudi got to make up with this girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, boy.
I don't know if you were expecting that to go a lot harder than that.
Oh, so I knew this was coming because obviously I wrote my own backstory and was like, we're having a rough patch or whatever. And I had prepared a monologue. I was recording it in my head, going through it, being I had a whole monologue and I start.
Yeah, what you guys didn't know at home is Jordan came in with a bulletin board.
I had this whole epic monologue to try to get the girl back. And then it was just I forgive you. And I'm like, well, okay, that was a lot of wasted effort. But it was, there was definitely I think it also kind of reflected Sudi's growing anxiety of it because it's this is a really hard thing for him to do.
Sudi is an interesting little bit of a contradiction.
He's 16.
Well, because he's 16, but he's also
17,
17, but he's also monasterically trained and lawful by nature. So Sudi reminds me a little bit of, for those of you out there, and if you're not a fan, you should be, of The Last Airbender. A little bit of Aang in the way that he's very childish. The show, not the movie.
That's cartoon. The anime or whatever you want to call it. Not
movie.
The movie does not exist.
Yeah, that never happened.
But a little bit of how he can be very serious, and this is the way that we do things, and here's my meditations, and all the rest of that. And then the rest of the time, he's bouncing off the wall and crazy stuff, and trying to flirt with girls.
Look at my airball.
Look at my airball, yeah.
So what's really funny is I might have pulled a little bit from Aang as my inspiration.
Well, we'll actually get to that here in a second. So yeah, you did actually get to meet with Onuris' mother.
Yeah, she's a treat, isn't she?
That was weird.
A peach.
That was really weird.
Everybody's parents are coming back.
You'll find out more.
Yeah, it's wait till the episode drops.
So who may have been I think going to Onuris' house. There was a lot of mention in the last couple of episodes about the House of Pantheru, and Onuris is yeah, it's okay.
And we figured out what family he was from.
And then you actually go and see the Mufri residence, and kind of just puts the House of Pantheru to shame. It's they've got 2 pools,
Rich people.
Yeah, because the thing for Sudi is Sudi grew up on the streets. Even when he had his family, it was very modest, priestly place. So there's not a whole lot of ostentation there. And then to just walk into this completely other world where you're just what in the world is this? This lady doesn't even speak for herself to start with. She has to be introduced by somebody. That's just very off-putting. So I hope that kind of came across because, it is very, very weird to walk into those kind of situations.
And this will be addressed a little bit in episode 19. I think I made a couple of jokes about this. There were a lot of occasions of Jordan just kind of looking down at his character sheet when I'm just hey, Jordan, make me a knowledge local check. Oh. All right, make me a survival check to track because Onuris has climbed out of a freaking window and gone wandering off diseased into the city.
Yeah.
Oh. So it does a good job of illustrating why you guys are stronger together.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have the options to do other things. But Onuris did not provoke a fight with the Pharaonic guard of
that was good. That was
Pharaoh's
a good
palace.
thing.
That's important.
And was brought back to the temple and was cured, supposedly, of his disease. And I guess you guys will find out next episode if he's in good enough shape to actually go adventuring
And we
again.
have to see if anybody else is in good enough shape, because we made a lot of checks for disease and stuff
you
in the house.
you guys were exposed to a lot of diseases.
So we got to see how everybody's feeling in the morning.
So you guys enjoyed that? You found that as a fun experience, just kind of branching out. It's not something we're going to do regularly, but...
No, it's a good change of pace. And like, it was really funny because we were kind of going through and I'm listening, obviously to Onuris is, what's happening with Onuris. So like when you go and you start picking out these little pieces, like the audience, you guys have kind of felt this. We're getting that too because we actually didn't share what our backstories were necessarily. So like when I'm learning about Onuris, and I'm like, oh man, like I kind of feel like I'm one of the audience, like finally being like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Like,
we actually made or at least we're trying to make an effort to not talk about this game too much outside of the actual game, so that we can reveal it like as we go. Like Sitra has very little of her backstory revealed, but we will get more of that, next episode.
Well, the
We
only
actually try not to
backstory.
talk outside of this game at all.
The only backstory.
we're all strangers. We just all like shake hands at the end of the day, say
Oh,
good
yes.
job, and leave.
Good to meet you. I only know some of Sudi's because we had to work together because we knew each other.
Yeah, so our backstories intertwine a little bit, but I really liked that, and I really like like a heavy narrative session every now and then is kind of really refreshing. So I liked it a lot.
That does segue a little bit into me making a simple suggestion out there for game masters. A fun thing for you to do for players and their backstories is choose a player and then have that player have a backstory element tied to another player. Nothing big, but that they're already aware of that person, and then another, and then another. So like sitting here, I can look at the chain where it's just Jessica's character has no connection to anyone but Sudi initially. But because Jessica has a connection to Sudi, and Sudi has a connection to Onuris, and Onuris has connection to Sitra, then it makes sense for all of them to kind of get together. It's kind of a friend of a friend. It's almost nepotism. Where it's like you're in this party because this other person vouched for you kind of thing, not like four random people that's exactly what happened to Folto. Where it's just like, why are you traveling with these people? Oh, I met them like 3 days ago in a bar.
Apparently the Hell Knight is cool because he's not dead yet.
No, that's a little tease for episode 19, which we'll get to next time. But yes.
Spoiler, Falto's not dead.
Folto,
I mean, he did invite us to a party.
whether or not he
invited
is...
you to this party, didn't he?
Right, that's what I was saying. Like the Hell Knight hasn't killed him. So.
That is true. Whether or not Folto's still alive at the end of episode 19, we'll see.
Oh.
That makes me sad. I mean, I don't get Onuris hasn't gotten that much interaction with him, but he amuses me as a player.
I'm pretty sure that there's something that he brings up which will amuse Onuris greatly when that comes out. But,
Listen to the next episode.
yeah. Anyway.
Anywho.
So yeah, that kind of covers all of those recent episodes, what's been going on. Just to talk a couple of things from here. First off, actually, and this is a little bit of news for the players, we've gathered, over the past month, we've nearly doubled our number of subscribers.
Oh, wow.
So thank you to all of the listeners out there.
Yes, thank you so much. We like to know
we, of
that
course,
you're listening.
Yeah, you guys have been phenomenal. We've actually gotten a couple of emails in
Ooh, I like
over this
part.
past week. So we're going to have our...
Fan mail.
Yeah.
Now you're going to do that every
Actually have us... So, yeah, we got an email from a listener, Sarah. Sarah did not provide us with where she is from, so...
That's
we'll
not
give
a
her-
requirement, guys.
Sarah is the coolest. She is from Abaddon.
I like that she's the coolest, but is from Abaddon.
I was going to say.
She hangs out with...
Where in Golarion would be Sarah's home?
Well, she likes to come through the World Wound occasionally. So probably somewhere north.
For those listeners out there, I know that the World Wound does not connect to Abaddon.
I don't care.
It's
Oh, no, what? Just kidding. She comes from Forest and Usalok, obviously. Probably Thrushmore.
Yeah. So Sarah from Thrushmore writes in.
We're sorry we made you from Thrushmore.
We're sorry you live in Thrushmore.
All right.
She'll leave. She can leave.
So Sarah writes in, she gives us some praise, which I'm not going to read because that always makes me feel awkward. But I do really appreciate the praise. That,
Well, I want to
comes
hear the
in.
praise.
Yeah, I was going to say.
She says that she recently got into Pathfinder.
Nice.
Mostly from listening to other actual plays. She'd kind of found us recently than a lot of the actual plays that have been out there for a little while.
We
So
haven't
that's
been
great, and we're
going
glad.
That long.
Welcome to the party.
Yes.
She said that she and some of her high school friends made characters based off of pictures that she dug up from DeviantArt.
Oh, we did that a lot
nice.
growing up.
She was curious what sources that we take inspiration from for characters. So
Can I start this one actually? Because that's actually exactly what Jess and I used to do before we got into Pathfinder. We were on envisionfree.com.
Yes.
And we would literally just write together, and it would be us with a group of people sometimes, or just me and Jess, because we were losers. not
We
true,
were
not true.
amazing.
We were really great writers, but we didn't. We just wanted to write all the time. So that's what we would do is we'd go on deviantart.com. We would look up pictures, and then we would just say, hey, make a character based off of this picture. And I still do that sometimes. It's a lot of fun.
I currently hang out on Tumblr. I follow a lot of artists.
Yes.
I commission a lot of artists also on Tumblr. And every now and then I save them. I reblog them, the saving of Tumblr. And
if you're a Tumblr artist and you're a listener, feel free to email us in so we can look at your work.
I mean, I commissioned, I don't know her name. I know her Tumblr handle is Springforth from the Mind, I think, with dashes, is who I commissioned to do Sagira. But, and sometimes also actors and movies. Originally Sagira was going to be Oded Fair's character from The Mummy, and then she changed a whole lot.
See, I do that a lot, like with video games. Especially if the first game I did with everybody in this table when I first met Justin Jordan was...
Issa.
Yes, Issa. What was the name of that campaign? Serpent Skull. And I had a week to come up with a character, and I was like, oh crap. And I happened to be in the middle of replaying Kingdom Hearts 2, and one of my favorite Organization 13 members, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make him look like this, and I'm going to make him grumpy, and I'm going to run with it. And of course, Issa ended up being a lot different than that character. Sayax, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, video games and Jess said, movies, anything that, even if, I know some people give people crap where it's oh, you just took this character from this and put it on a character sheet. Don't listen to them. If you're having fun and you get inspiration from that character, then just do it, man.
So that was a bit of a tie in what I was saying earlier with Sudi, is that you're kind of mentioning...
So what's
there.
really interesting for me is I approach characters in kind of most of my characters are Mad Libs characters, where I go into Ultimate Campaign and I will roll Ultimate Campaign without any idea what they are besides their class and their race. What's really funny is that gives me a story. That gives me pieces of it, and I can kind of stitch that together to make a story. And I've actually had some really good success with doing that. But with Sudi, I also typically take some part of myself and put myself in the character. I played a paladin that was very tactically minded, very, kind of stoic, and I used to be...
Sorry for how artsy that sounds for all of you people out there.
Yeah.
I put a piece of myself.
Ooh, you know what else works?
Don't make me explain my process.
Songs. I get inspiration from songs.
You know what else works? Yeah. Sometimes I just go and find a mini I like, and then... Yep. Oh, this mini has a shield. I guess I have a shield. Because it's really hard to find minis after. I've had to modify way too many minis.
But, so Sudi for me, so I kind of have, when I'm at home, I'm a total goofball. And, I'm a lot like that. And these guys all know, I cut loose and I get crazy and my ADD really starts showing through.
Yeah. And there are some days when we sit down to play and we're like, Jordan, did you take your pill? And he's like, no. And we're like, go.
Yes, mothers. But yeah, so I
love all of our
thing.
Listeners with ADD also.
Yeah, no, you can
this
definitely...
is a great game for people with ADD.
This is a great people for people with ADD.
But yeah, when I was making Sudi, I kind of was thinking about that process of work hard, play hard, and Aang just popped into my head. And so I was sitting there and I was like, wow, he is kind of a lot like Aang, and that just really kind of resonated with me, and I've just kind of been rolling with it ever since then.
Except he's going to be a kitty.
Yeah, so Sudi doesn't make the same jokes whenever he's being serious.
Who made that
and stuff.
sound?
It was not me.
It was me.
So we're not in the desert, so we
sound.
can't go penguin sledding. But I feel like some sort of sledding
activity
thing
is
needs
going
to
be
happen
happening.
now with
Possibly.
Sudi.
Surf on a shield down a sand dune or something.
Yeah.
We have done a feather token boat before.
That is true.
Yeah,
In a pyramid, yeah.
So, well, I hope we answered your question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rambling.
That's generally how we answer questions.
I guess for myself, it's weird. I take a lot of the elements that everyone else here has just said. There's a lot of times that I'll see a miniature and I'll basically go, I have this miniature. Or sometimes I'll just buy a miniature because I see it, it's cool, and then I'll come back to it way later. Like I had a miniature that had an electric guitar that I ended up turning into an android for Iron Gods.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I don't know when else I'm going to get to use this cool miniature with an electric guitar. Funny enough, I find a lot of inspiration just from the game itself. That sometimes I'll just flip through a book and I'll see a piece of artwork that jumps out at me and go, oh, I want to make a character that's kind of like this piece of artwork.
Or a piece of lore.
Or a piece of lore will jump out. Or sometimes it's literally a class feature kind of comes out that, I'm looking at the Inquisitor and then I see the Sin Eater archetype and I go, I could make an amazing spin-off of this. So I hope that kind of inspires. And
I have one more thing that I do, and I think I'm the only one that really does this, is I look at Rick and I go, I have this character idea, go, and then he makes it happen.
None of us do this.
I can't guarantee to do that for a lot of out there.
I was going to say required.
Maybe if we had a Patreon, that's one of the tiers.
Say, that's a perfect Patreon right there.
I am fortunate in that I'm married to him, so he's obligated.
I get really into making my character, though. I also occasionally will be like, I will do I really want to be from the Mwangi Expanse. Let me research West Africa and make my own culture that is in the Mwangi Expanse. And then I'll build a character on that culture.
And actually along that same line of what you're just saying there, if you're doing an adventure path, a great direction to go is always just look at the free PDF that they provide for the player's guide for that adventure path. They usually have some awesome suggestions, other books that you can refer to.
The campaign traits are a good jumping off point too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the campaign traits are a wonderful jumping off point. But yeah, if you're looking for inspiration, there is never a wrong place to take inspiration from. And never let somebody tell you, if you walk out and you go, I want to make my version of Commander Shepard for Starfinder. Just make your own version of Commander Shepard for Starfinder. Go with it.
Shepard Command.
You can or you can just take whatever limited things you want, where it's like, oh, he wears heavy armor and he's a former hero and everything else, and he's horrible at dancing. And then you just kind of roll with it because that's Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
He or she. So do what you want.
It's always FemShep, let's be honest.
She's pretty much the best.
She is the best.
I hope that we've answered your question. We are always thrilled anytime that we have some more listeners. You guys are phenomenal and make the hours and hours and hours that we spend editing and making this listenable for you all worth the effort. So we hope that you will continue listening. The last thing I'm going to say is this. So this is the first after party that we have coming out after Gen Con, and Gen Con 2018 is the launch of the Pathfinder Playtest. We, as fans of the Pathfinder system, I believe our tag says Uberfan. Uber fans of the Pathfinder system will be, of course, doing the Pathfinder playtest. We are not recording it.
No, we do not want to spoil anything.
Well, we do not want to spoil it. Also, the Paizo team are doing a Twitch playthrough of it as well. So if you want to go out there, you want to see it, you want to look into it, you can. If you have any interest whatsoever in playing it, I would highly suggest that you play it and help steer the direction for Pathfinder in the upcoming years to come so that we can get another 10 years.
Try to play it before you listen to it, though, because the big thing they pushed at PaizoCon was they wanted people to go into it fresh without any idea of what they were doing so they can get good data that hasn't been influenced by things you have heard about the adventure. So
similarly, there's been a lot of discussion on the forums and stuff.
I'm not even going to mess with the forums right now.
Honestly, I feel like it's going to probably taint your opinion of it. I just go play it. Just do with it. Some of the stuff will stay, some of it won't, but just play the game and just see how it works out. Because there's been some stuff that, on paper, we didn't really think it was going to be all that great, but then we actually played it and we were like, oh, this is good. This is real good.
We have a couple of questions pertaining towards that. We are not going to be recording our playthrough of the Pathfinder playtest. We are also not going to be switching over, especially since it's a playtest version, the Mummy's Mask into this other rule set. Nor when 2nd edition comes out could I see us switching Mummy's Mask over into 2nd edition. I think it would just be way too much of a headache to do that far into the adventure path. And for you guys, I think the story is what's really more important than, as much as we love the fact that everyone praises us for getting the rules right. We're going to be staying with 1st edition for the foreseeable future, much as many of you are, although in our home games we'll probably be giving 2nd edition a thorough playtest, a thorough playthrough, and then 2nd edition a try once that time comes.
Not to mention we don't want to get into 2nd edition and we're not as good at the rules as we are with first edition.
It's going to be a hard change, man. I've been doing 3.0 and 3.5 Pathfinder for a long time.
So you can continue to come back here, listen to us for all of those. Keep in mind that Paizo is still going to be releasing all of their core books, so you can keep playing with that. If you've gotten into Pathfinder and are listening to us and think the rules sound really cool and aren't sure about going into a new rule system or anything like that, hey, just stick with that. You can go out and play Mummy's Mask yourself. Or, worst case scenario, you can pick up Mummy's Mask, you can translate it into the new rule system, hopefully fairly easily, and keep going that way, however you want to do. We hope everyone out there has enjoyed themselves. We hope that everyone that went out to Gen Con, I know a number of our Twitter followers are at Gen Con and have very much seemed to have enjoyed themselves. We are jealous of all of you and wish we could have gone as well. But hopefully next year we'll have the time available to show up at Gen Con, hang out with some of you guys, and get some gaming in. So we hope that you've enjoyed the last 3 episodes. We hope that you enjoy the next 3 episodes. And until next time, good luck, Pathfinders.